Howdy and welcome from the Texas A&M University Leach Teaching Gardens. I'm Lisa Whittlesey with the Junior Master Gardener Program, and today we are going to plant seeds and do cuttings using some very unusual containers. You may look at this and say, okay, this looks like a bunch of kitchen utensils and kitchen pans. Well, it is, but it's a great way that you can recycle them. So if you've got some old pans and old containers, you can use those to be able to start seedlings. So this isn't brownie bites, this is potting soil that I actually have in this container. When you start seeds, you want to have a really nice, well-drained potting soil. Those are available at many of your garden centers or your big box stores, and it works well to get your seedling started. There's a lot of great plants that start from seed. I really love using a lot of real simple annuals. Zinnias is probably my most favorite for children, and this is what it looks like when it's full grown. They come in every kind of color, and they're wonderful to be cut and used in floral arrangements in the home. So here's some zinnia seeds I have open, and they're pretty small. How deep you plant the seeds depends on how big that they are. So a good rule of thumb is you want to plant those seeds 1.5 to 2 times the width of the seed. So we're going to just put those seeds in and pat the soil down, and then those are going to be ready to be watered. And then you can look actually on the back of the seed packet to give you an idea how long it takes to germinate. For zinnias, it's typically 5 to 10 days, and those little baby zinnia plants are going to come up. And then they will be ready then to go into larger containers. This type of direct seeding works well not only for blooming plants, but also a lot of our vegetables. So there may be some vegetables that you're interested in growing, spinach, loose leaf lettuces, which are more fall vegetables, but they also are things that can be started in small containers and be put then directly into the garden or larger containers for your patio. Okay, so let's take a look at, once we have some of these things ready to go, what are some fun containers that we could put them into? And I brought some unusual things for you to look at today. This actually is a colander, okay? This actually could be a wonderful container. Why? Because not only is it big, but look at all these holes at the bottom. It's a great way to naturally provide wonderful drainage for your container. But hey, if you don't have a colander, even simple, if you have sour cream or yogurt or things like that at your house, or orange juice or any kind of plastic container works really, really well. So we're going to add some potting soil to that. And I'm going to just put some of this in here because I've got it. Remember, for any plant, you've got to provide a place for things to grow, okay? And we use a little acronym in Junior Master Gardening called PLANTS. They need P, a place to grow. They need light, so when we plant this, we're gonna want it to have good light. The plants are gonna need air, and so you want it to have good circulation. They're gonna need nutrients, so any plant you have is gonna need to be fertilized. They get thirsty, okay? So they've got to have water, and then of course they have to have soil. So that little acronym, PLANTS, will help you to remember, and for your kids to remember, things that you've got to provide to the plant. Okay, so these are some vinca that I got, but these are things you could actually grow from seed. But we're gonna just do a cute little potted container that we could have for your patio, for your front porch, anywhere. So you're going to want to get those planted down into that real deeply, press it in. And you could do different colors if you wanted to, or if there were a couple of different types of plants that you wanted to grow, you could group those together. One thing I would encourage you is make sure the plants that you've selected are things that grow well together so that they have similar light and water requirements so that they're going to do well. So here's an example of something that you could do in a fun colander, and then when you water that, guys, it's going to just drain right out. So a nice addition to your porch, a fun way to recycle if you've got some that are sitting around your house, and a way to have a fun decorative container for your patio. Okay, let's look at a couple of other things that you might consider. One of the ways that we start plant, obviously, is from seed, which we talked about, but another way is by cuttings or division. And there's many plants that we can start by cuttings or actually dividing them. Let me show you a couple of examples. This is aloe vera, okay? And I had this aloe vera at my house, and this is what's called a pup. And the aloe vera plant will send little babies all the way around the outside, and you can actually go in and break those off, put it in another container, and give this plant away. It's a great way to share plants with others, is to do cuttings or propagating the plants off the mother plant. This is another plant that I had in my garden at home. It's actually called a phlox, and I dug it up, and it just has little bitty plantlets that come along the side, and so you could have this and spread it to another part of your garden or could share with a friend, okay? So there's a lot of plants that you can do by division. Aloe vera is one, phlox is another, daylilies is another. They can really be divided at any time. Usually the best time is opposite of when they bloom. So if it's a blooming plant, try to get it when it's not blooming, okay? What about cuttings? There's a lot of things you can do from cuttings, and here's a couple that I really love. This is a coleus, and it's one that goes real well from cutting. And you actually just snip off a piece of this, and you could put it in some soil, and then I like to usually cover it. Either put it in a Ziploc bag, or if it's one of those salad containers that has a lid, you can actually put the lid on it or partially on it. What that does is it creates a lot of humidity in that individual container so that the cutting doesn't dry out. And usually in several weeks, you'll start to see some new growth develop, and that is when the cutting has started to form roots. So when that happens, it's ready then to put in another container. So coleus is a great one for cuttings. This is rosemary, which is a perennial herb. That's another plant that we can start from cuttings. And it's a great way to share with others so that, you know, you can share your gardening love with those in your life. And that was something that we learned a lot in the gardener book. If y'all remember, Lydia Grace, who was the character in the book, really shared her love of plants and the plants that she had grown with other people. And her mother and her grandmother had shared their cuttings and their seeds with her as well. So you can do that too. So you may be thinking, wow, I want to get started, but I don't have a lot of cool containers. I want to show you some things that you might try at home. I'm going to clear off my space here a little bit with milk jugs or water jugs. Everybody has these. And you guys, we need to be doing a better job of recycling, right? It's a way that we can make sure to keep the environment clean, and it's also a way for us to get some great, awesome tools. Let me show you a few things I've made. What if you need some storage for your tools, okay? This is a great little caddy, and you can see I decorated it. It says Lisa's Garden Stuff. It's a great place. You could put your hand trowel, you could put your pruning shears actually inside of there. So then when you're ready to go out in the garden, you just hold it and it's ready to go. What if you don't have a hand trowel? You can make one, okay? You guys see that on the end of the handle? It's a perfect little hand trowel. So if you have little gardeners at home or working with small children, this is absolutely a perfect way for them to scoop soil, and it can keep in that nice little caddy that we created. Well, what if you need a big scoop? Well, you can make a big scoop out of a milk jug as well. So you can see kind of here how I created that. just cut it out with scissors. I labeled it, and this is a great way if you have a lot of potting soil that you need to move, that you can use it. What other things could you do from a watering jug or milk jug? This is just cutting out the bottom. I could punch holes in it, and it's a perfect little container to start seeds or cuttings. And if we had that cutting like the coleus, we could actually put a lid on it like this and put a piece of tape, and that would keep the humidity high so that our cutting would root. So another great example. One thing that I didn't show is you could leave it whole like this and punch some holes here, and you have a perfect watering can. So don't just think about, oh, this is just trash, or I'm gonna throw it away, or I'm gonna recycle it. Think about how you could repurpose and reuse it in your garden. So whether it's a bent cake pan, or a cracked tea kettle, or teacup, or any kind of recyclable colander or things that you have, or maybe it's just that salad container or the milk jug or water jug that you have. Think about how you can use it again to create and grow beautiful plants that you can have not only for your own garden, but to share with others. Thanks for joining us, and happy gardening.